Hi everyone, welcome to the second week of our Ride Shop. I hope everyone had a good weekend, enough to prepare you and to energize you for this week's activities. For this fifth day of our Ride Shop, we will be discussing some standards in manuscript contents.
Setting up your manuscript content standards. What you will require for structure, content, or format of manuscripts for your journals is entirely up to you. You will notice that there is no uniform standard as you try to visit various journal websites and read their publication requirements. However, you may also notice that there are common patterns in their requirements. This means that you don't actually need to reinvent the wheel, but instead, adopt what others have. If your goal is recognition and high citation, you may try to adopt what the popular, high-quality international journals have. Making a title. A good title for an article not only aims to present the research but to attract the editors and the target readers. A title should only have 10 to 15 words and answer the following questions. What is the paper about? What techniques or methodologies were used? What is being studied? What are the results? A good title allows the reader to predict the content and is interesting. It should capture the tone of the paper and should have relevant keywords. It should contain as few words as possible. Many journals limit titles to 12 words. It should be easy to understand and describes the contents of the paper accurately and specifically. As much as possible, abbreviations, formulas, and jargon should be avoided. Titles may be written in 3 different forms: descriptive, declarative, and interrogative. Descriptive title is the traditional type wherein the subject of the article is described but the main conclusion is not shown. Declarative title reveals the main results or conclusion of the paper. An example of this would be, ivermectin is not effective for treatment of coronavirus infection. Interrogative title is a description of the subject of the paper in question form. An example would be, does ivermectin kill adult ticks? Now let's go to abstracts. There are 3 primary types of abstracts: descriptive, informative, and structured. Felony Rodriguez, a certified editor of the Board of Editors in the Life Sciences or BLESS, provided details on the different types of abstracts, how they're structured, and the types of publications they're used for. This information is helpful because it helps a writer further determine the goals of their abstract. And having clear goals leads to better structure. Descriptive abstracts, Rodriguez explains, mostly appear in the social sciences. These abstracts does not usually include information about the methods used or the results found. Informative abstracts are used in the hard sciences. These detail the purpose, methods, results and conclusion of the study. Structured abstracts are the same as informative abstracts. However, they are broken down into a series of topics that sample the paper's primary topics. A structured abstract will usually contain a section for objectives, methods, results and conclusion. In whatever type of research, a good reminder in writing abstracts is to put your purpose, findings, results, and conclusion up front. Do not hesitate to spoil your paper. Making these information clear right away motivates your reader to keep going, and ultimately leads to overall readability. Most primary papers follow the IMRAD pattern for its body. It stands for Introduction, Methods, Results and Discussion. In most journals, the conclusion and recommendations are included in the discussion. The introduction provides a context or background for the study, that is, the nature of the problem, and its significance. It states the specific purpose or research objective of, or hypothesis tested by, the study or observation. You should remember to cite only directly pertinent references, and do not include data or conclusions from the work being reported. Now for the methods. The guiding principle of the methods section should be clarity about how and why a study was done in a particular way. The methods section should aim to be sufficiently detailed such that others with access to the data would be able to reproduce the results. In general, the section should include only information that was available at the time the plan or protocol for the study was being written. All information obtained during the study belongs in the results section. If an organization was paid or otherwise contracted to help conduct the research, examples include data collection and management, then this should be detailed in the methods. The methods section should include a statement indicating that the research was approved by an independent local, regional or national review body like an ethics committee, an institutional review board, or others. If doubt exists whether the research was conducted in accordance with the Helsinki Declaration, in the case of those involving human participants, the authors must explain the rationale for their approach and demonstrate that the local, regional, or national review body explicitly approved the doubtful aspects of the study. Present your results in an organized manner and in a logical sequence in the text, tables, and figures, giving the main or most important findings first. It would also be good to follow the sequence of your objectives and methodology. Do not repeat all the data in the tables or figures in the text. Emphasize or summarize only the most important observations. Provide data on all primary and secondary outcomes identified in the methods section. Extra or supplementary materials and technical details can be placed in an appendix where they will be accessible but will not interrupt the flow of the text, or they can be published solely in the electronic version of the journal. Give numeric results not only as derivatives, for example as percentages, but also as the absolute numbers from which the derivatives were calculated. Restrict tables and figures to those needed to explain the argument of the paper and to assess supporting data. Use graphs as an alternative to tables with many entries. Do not duplicate data in graphs and tables. You should only choose either one depending on the type of data you have. That is, in one section of the result you may need tables, in another you may need graphs. To avoid confusion, do not use of technical terms in statistics, such as random, which implies a randomizing device, normal, significant, correlations, and sample in describing non-technical things. The demographic characteristics are not usually the main objective of the study, so don't dwell too much on it. Separate reporting of data by demographic variables, such as age and sex, facilitate pooling of data for subgroups across studies. Unless there are compelling reasons not to stratify reporting, this should be routine. Now for the discussion. For most journals, you may notice that there is no separate section on conclusion and recommendation because they are usually incorporated here. For this section, it is useful to begin by briefly summarizing the main findings, and explore possible mechanisms or explanations for these findings. Emphasize the new and important aspects of your study. Put your findings in the context of the totality of the relevant evidence. Cite related researches for this if needed. State the limitations of your study, and explore the implications of your findings for future research and for practice or policy. Do not repeat in detail data or other information given in other parts of the manuscript, such as in the introduction or the results section. Always link your discussions and conclusions to your objectives. Avoid unqualified statements and conclusions not adequately supported by the data. In particular, distinguish between clinical and statistical significance, and avoid making statements on economic benefits and costs unless the manuscript includes the appropriate economic data and analyses. Well, that's it for our Day 5 video lecture. I hope you learned a lot even though this is not as comprehensive as one might expect. But rest assured that pointed out here are the most important aspects of article content standards. Again, this is Kay. Good luck on your group work today.